listen. What you're hearing now is a technique called ASMR, Auto Sensory Meridian Response. If you're starting to feel a tingling sensation in the back of your head and down your spine, you are one of the lucky few who experience ASMR. This documentary is going to uncover what this feeling is and how it has become a new internet sleep aid.
ASMR is classed as a tingly feeling that begins in the head or scalp and is caused by recognizable sounds that you hear every day, resulting in a deep feeling of relaxation. Since its earliest description in 2007 by a user on a health website who posted about weird head sensations, this euphoric tool has rapidly become an online phenomenon. Popularized on YouTube by people known as ASMRists who create specialized videos to stimulate the tingly sensation, and promoted by ASMR experiencers, what was once an online subculture has now gone mainstream and is making medical professionals sit up and take notice.
ASMR videos tend to focus on a number of different things. Sometimes it's whispering, someone speaking softly. Other times it can be repetitive movements like hair brushing. There's actually a range of different inducers. We call these the inducers, are the experiences that trigger ASMR.
One leading ASMRist based in the UK is Sophie, otherwise known as Sophie Michelle ASMR to her fans, who in under a year has attracted over 103,000 subscribers, and her videos regularly get hundreds of thousands of views.
So I've been watching ASMR for years. I used to watch it to help cope with sleeping because my brother had a brain tumour about 3 or 4 years ago. I found that really difficult, and that was kind of the thing that helped me cope. I didn't tell anybody about it, and then all of a sudden one day I just decided to tell my boyfriend that, oh, this is something that I watch and it helps me sleep, and he was like, oh, you've got a relaxing voice, oh, you could do that. So next day I just decided to sit down in front of a camera and make a video. So when I started, I only had like a little point and shoot camera that I was taking on holiday with me. I was using my student finance to fund my YouTube, but it was pretty quick when I started making revenue. So other than the original microphone that I spent, everything else was YouTube made money.
Sophie's fanbase is growing every day, and her success seems to stem from her roleplay videos, which have skyrocketed her popularity on YouTube.
So a roleplay is basically a scenario that someone would find relaxing. So for example, like going to the hairdressers and having someone brush your hair or cut your hair. You could also have at the doctor's or an eye exam, anything that's really close up, and if someone was touching your face, or very calming and relaxing and taking care of you, it's always that caring kind of role. 2 months ago I put out a hypnosis video, and it's the first video to hit 1 million views, so that's kind of like really springboarded my work. Specifically role plays, I kind of do well. That's the kind of thing that I would say I'm best at.
But what exactly happens in the brain when people watch the ASMR videos?
So there's a lot of work ongoing at the moment to try to understand what happens in the brain when people experience ASMR. Some of this work has suggested differences in something which we call the default mode network. Now this is a network of brain areas that are active when you're pretty much doing nothing, when you're just resting. They're involved in harnessing connections between different brain areas. They've also been linked with things like creativity and other skills like this. And there are some differences in the functional levels there between people with ASMR and those who don't report to experience ASMR. There are several reasons why people watch ASMR videos. So one of the main reasons is because they say they get like a euphoric state from it. That, you know, it's a really kind of pleasurable experience in that way. We don't actually know why people have this experience, but you might be able to speculate about the certain brain systems that might be involved. So for example, when it comes to euphoria, there's elements of reward circuits in the brain, a rewarding experience. And here we see differences in brain systems linked to dopamine, which is a major neurotransmitter involved in rewards. And you might expect that some of these levels of dopamine may be modulated in this setting if it is truly inducing that experience. For the most part, people mainly report that it's for relaxation. It's to relax them, make them less anxious. A number of people also say they use it as a sleep aid. They say watching these videos helps them to sleep, which again is consistent with this idea about relaxation.
According to the NHS, sleep disorders are on the rise in the UK. While some sufferers use prescription sleep aids, others have sought out more natural remedies, which is where ASMR appears to have a very practical application. Users of ASMR claim that the videos might just be the cure for their insomnia.
I was just browsing through YouTube and I saw this video which was titled ASMR. I have no idea what ASMR was at this point. I watched the video, I was like, oh wow, holy crap, this is like giving me this feeling that I've had occasionally, like, and I didn't really know what it was or didn't even really make a connection with it, and this is actually a thing. So I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. And I wasn't aware that some people don't get it or don't understand it. It's sort of this area from the back of your head down to just underneath your shoulders, and it's like a sort of pulsing wave that goes up like that and then dissipates and then leaves you feeling very relaxed and very content. When you have this sort of tingling feeling up here, I feel the rest of my muscles in my body relax and everything kind of gets a bit more floppy and soft. And if I'm in bed, I feel like I sort of sink deeper into the bedding. You know, sleeping pills and medication, I would say that would be like a last resort if you're struggling to sleep. Generally, if it's either myself that's struggling to sleep or somebody that I know is struggling to sleep, it's usually that you can't turn thoughts off in your mind. If you can do something that sort of clears your mind from watching something and doing it that way, that's far better.
Dr. Arga McCurley and Dr. Michael Banassi conducted research into ASMR to find out if those who experience the ASMR sensations are different to those who don't.
So in our research, we tested two groups of people, one group who reported ASMR, one group who didn't report ASMR. And we wanted to look whether there are any differences between these groups in their personality traits and in their levels of empathy. And so a key finding of our research was simply that people with ASMR showed greater levels of openness to experience. Now this is one personality trait which is about seeking out new experiences, trying new things. And they differed in this level relative to people that don't experience or don't report experiencing ASMR. They also differed in levels of empathy. So people that reported ASMR showed higher levels of empathic concern. So this is how much emotional empathy you may have for other people. So you might see somebody upset and feel upset in response to them. And another form of empathy, which in the measure is known as fantasizing, but it's actually more about your ability to have empathy for fictional characters. So you might watch a movie or read a book and feel empathy towards the characters. And people who report to experience ASMR reported to have greater levels of empathy in that domain than people that don't report having ASMR.
An often raised question is whether the success of these ASMR videos is due to their calming, relaxing effect, or somewhat controversially, is something to do with what some have called their flirtatious, seductive, and even sexual nature.
I've had a friend that has commented that my videos are sexual, and he calls it whisper porn. You're always going to get people that use that content for those purposes. You can't really avoid it, really. When some males find a new artist, they tend to think, oh, okay, we can kind of corrupt this person and make them create content that's not necessarily what ASMR is all about. Some of them were pretty obvious, like, you know, they would ask for very sexual role plays and things, which obviously I wouldn't do. But then there were some that were quite sneaky. So there's a whole strange world of fetishes that you don't really get exposed to unless people explicitly ask you for it. So for example, when I first started, someone asked me to do a match lighting video, which I thought was just, oh okay, it's, you know, visually quite stimulating, but apparently that's a fetish, and people get off on that, which is something that I didn't know until after I'd done the video, and then I was shocked by their comments. So immediately I blocked them, and it was a bit of a thing. But yeah, you get people that try and trick you, but the more and more you do it, you become aware of, you know, what to avoid and things. I mean, of course, there's always going to be people that take it to that level and use that for, you know, exploiting their audience. But I don't know, a lot of the content generally isn't sexual in any nature. And if someone finds it sexual, then that is their issue, not the person that's creating the content.
I've seen posts and videos and things where like the sexual thing is brought up, like people are saying, you know, is it a sexual thing? People that don't necessarily understand it, they assume that it's some kind of sexual thing. I mean, most of the videos are attractive girls, like, you know, younger girls and stuff. I personally wouldn't understand any sexual connection with it because it's completely separate. Like, it's like saying the kind of euphoric feeling you get from eating something like really tasty when you're really hungry. That's a kind of, that can be like a really nice, like it makes you feel really good. It's like that disconnected from being sexual.
If people see it for the first time, they always think it's really strange. But once they kind of watch it, it's a hit and miss. Like, it's like Marmite, for example, my nan, oh no, she thinks it's inappropriate and she doesn't understand it. But I suppose it's a generational thing. Some people find it relaxing and some people can't stand the sound of it.
Although ASMR may seem strange, it is undeniably attracting more and more people in search of relief from sleep disorders and anxiety.
I think the future of ASMR is probably in advertisements. So YouTube needs to up his game with advertisements, making them ASMR friendly. There could be ASMR specific TVs and films that could be relaxing. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to spread to all platforms. I think my ASMR career is probably got a time limit of probably about 5 or 10 years, maybe even less than that. I mean, in a year's time I might not be known at all. It's sad to say, but I think as long as I don't get really overweight or I don't end up looking awful when I get older, then I should keep a viewership, even though that's terrible and it shouldn't be about the looks. It kind of is.
The future of ASMR research, I think, is very bright. One of the key things that we really need to do is to try and find suitable ways to objectively verify the experience. Because to date, most of the work that's been done has either been to test certain behavioural traits associated with ASMR, but not while people are having the experiences. And really, if we want to know what's happening in the brain when someone has ASMR, for example, we need to measure what's happening while they're experiencing the state. So there's challenges ahead, but I think verifying the experience in that way, gaining an understanding of why is it happening, how is it happening, and then maybe looking at, well, could you use it in some way to facilitate certain experiences that may come on the back of it? So for instance, reductions in anxiety or using it as a sleep aid. Could it be harnessed in that way? We don't know those questions yet, and these are really interesting avenues for future investigation.
The available evidence does seem to suggest a positive future for ASMR, and some see it as a credible replacement for the pharmaceutical treatment for stress disorders, such as insomnia. But for ASMR to be offered to patients from the NHS, further research is essential. But, as ever, the question is whether there is a budget that will allow for that research. Is the national health system too entrenched in its pharmaceutical paradigm to give ASMR a chance? We can only wait and see.